All right, so that last one ran out of bandwidth. But I wanted to run is that if this is part two, and it take the first video to have the context of what I'm saying. But I'm saying back in like the early 2000s, like 2011 or so, a lot of people weren't as comfortable around the MMA stuff. But the people who would be more so first comfortable with the MMA stuff that were in my life would be like my close friend from Mexico, or he was I think he was Chicano, um, from the southwestern United States, but he was comfortable around like good times and like certain brands of beer, and also like fighting. Like he thought he enjoyed the fighting spirit. He, like, a lot of people say Modelo, the fighting spirit, but that's actually a real thing. That's realer than that. That's like a more probably commercial thing, but that's a real thing. The fighting spirit of Latin America in general, but then also the actual like the aesthetics around like good times and get-togethers, and like let them figure that shit out in the backyard, like in front of everyone, is probably part of the older like culture and tradition. I'm imagining, but he there at that time. Brock Lesnar came out, and he was like this. Brock Lesnar looks like a badass, but he looked like so much of a badass that you weren't sure if he actually would be good in a fight, because you're like, it's a little bit too convincing how much of a badass. I don't know if that's good to go for like an all-out dog fight, but I think he actually is a real fighter. Like, he's a no kidding fighter, and but as a layman spectator appreciator, he looked a little bit too convincing. Like, so I wasn't like I wouldn't have been betting money on him, looking at him that they would call that cocksure. His comportment and demeanor and style, because everything is about style. Even the bantering, the trash talking, that is part of the fighting. That's some of the first contacting of a fight. But also, that too is about style, and fights are about styles, and no style is better or worse than the other, because it's like rock paper scissors. But also sometimes scissors actually do beat paper. I mean, scissors actually do beat rock. Rock paper scissors. Sometimes scissors actually do beat rock, and so it's like, and sometimes paper actually does beat scissors, like because they have been about the paper and the paper, But anything can also be anything, but also sometimes get beat by anything. That's how styles go, and that's also how all things go. Even like a lot of people are like, hey man, I want to know, I'm the local dating this and that, and I want to know your shit is bogus and your shit is whack, and like that. But actually, that's not how life, because life is. But I'm not, to each their own, and your guess is good as mine, and probably better than mine, I would say. But my guess is still my guess, and my guess is that anything can work in the right time and setting, like the right. Because like everybody got the greatest shit until that shit doesn't work when it was supposed to work. But so that, like, Brock Lesnar, he would have had like the cocksure style, like that is like, he's so damn sure of his shit, but that you make you kind of second guess like that. But sometimes he might actually win like that, or not, or win or not, and sometimes win and then run it back and win and not. But the coldest thing he said something really deep at that time. I think it was him. He said that, I think he was doing like something about farming at the same time, because he also had cool shit going on, even as he had other cool shit going on, like being famous. And he was saying that education is a gamble. That's a quote. That's a really, really keen. No, he said farming is a gamble. That's what he said. He was working on him farming. He said farming is a gamble. All this thing about wake up with the cows and the crows and till the land, and hire and attract the farm hands and the helpers, and pay them if we can afford to pay them, and that. But also, they're kind of stuck. They might not be able to afford to go. I'm not referring to like my friend who I was referring to my friend who's in Mexico, because he could appreciate the cocksuredness of Brock Lesnar when he was guaranteeing a fight based on throwing back a particular brand of beer of another brother that's from a culture that he could appreciate what was being said there. But I'm saying, but what he also said is that farming, agriculture, horticulture is a lot about gambling. And even us human beings, we're educated in a system of horticulture, because the way that the methods that they rear us under in what's called education, as it's been handed down from the Board of Education in the last 100 century odd years, 100 years, century and a quarter, from the Board of Education. That's based on the principles of animal husbandry, according to Taj Bay, and that veers and segues and can be distinct from erudition, which is not the same thing. A lot of us, we approach education for the purpose and with the pretensions and romance of erudition, intending maybe erudition for ourselves and others. But we come through education, and that's more so along the lines of animal husbandry. If you can succeed in that, and be viable from that, likely you had some graces and support that would have been stemming from real erudition that gave you the footing and the temperament and maybe the training to survive education long enough to get all the way on up to past education and experience and enjoy erudition. But they're not the same. And according to Brock Lesnar, horticulture farming is a lot about gambling, but you could also say our conduct in dealing with one another is a lot about gambling, especially as we're within the training of animal husbandry, close to horticulture. But then farming, horticulture, I think it's called animal husbandry, which is a part of that, is a lot about gambling because it's a lot of work, sincere work, investment, but it's also a gamble because you don't know, and you may not, and it better be, if that's the way it had been like that, that you are not guaranteed any yield in nature. You're not guaranteed anything in this life. And nature is not different. You're not guaranteed anything. You can do the best you can, and sometimes you may get good come back from that. You may get a comeuppance for doing the best you can, but not guaranteed automatically.